You're on.
On?
Yeah, just talk to me.
Well, here it is, the old spiel again. And this time it really seems to be so. When I say I'm not talking to anybody.
Yes, I am nobody. Talk to nobody.
I'm not talking to any mind. I'm talking to that I am, that sense of presence that expresses through the mind as the thought I am. So when I say I am, that's that sense of presence. And each and every one that is listening knows I am. And even those that are not listening, to express themselves, they've got to say I am. But I am is just the word. Shouldn't. Oh, shit. So I shouldn't touch my face.
Be serious about it. You're gonna be burnt at stake.
Why not? So that's.
Heyman says good morning, so don't touch your face and go on.
Yeah, good morning. It's what we point to, we call it non-duality. And it's nothing special or nothing new, but way back when people, the few people around that did recognise themselves, what they truly were, it's the same, what they were pointing to then is the same we're pointing to now. It hasn't changed, though it's been dressed up, clothed in all the different sects, religions, and philosophies, or whatever you like to it. But it's still the same, one essence. I'd use the Hindu way of expressing it, Satchitananda, Nama Rupa. It's a good, to me, it's a very good expression. Sat is existence, Chit is consciousness, Ananda is loving to be. And when you look at yourself right now, are you existing? You can't say I'm not existing, can you? Because you know that you are before you're even expressed in words. That knowing that you are is there. And it's not an unconscious knowing, because you are conscious. And that's another term, to me, is the same as awareness. Awareness is consciousness. But there's a difference, slight difference in it, that awareness is the pure, what they call no mind state. And the consciousness is when we express it. With thoughts, words, put different labels on it. But just in its purity, it's a natural, spontaneous awareness. Anybody who's unaware right now, ask yourself that and have a look and see if you're unaware or unconscious. And you realise, no, you're not unconscious, you're not unaware. Anyone who's not loving to be right now, what they call loving to be. You wouldn't want to be dead right now, would you? And no matter how ill, feeling ill or whatever pains and that is going on, if there's a way out of it, you'll be looking for it. You don't want to be dead. So you are that existence, consciousness, bliss, not the body, mind, entity we've taken ourselves to be. And that is the great Mahavakya, the great mantra, I am that. they've been pointing to for years. I'll have a look at it and see too, and realise innately we all know that, because don't you say, that's the chair, that's the tree, that's the flower, that's Bill, that's Harry, that's me, that's you. And you realise what we're actually saying, everything is that, which we put extra concepts or words on it to differentiate it, discriminate it. Bob, Bill, the chair, me, you, all the labels. Now, all words. Tells it in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. And again, that's all this God they call is a word. That's the label we put on it. But the essence that word's representing is the total essence or intelligence energy, what I call intelligence energy, that's functioning in this universe, just like the one generator is lighting all the bulbs in the room, the light bulbs, or at the television and the other devices we've got. It's the same electricity that's flowing through them all. Well, it's the same essence that's flowing through everything in this manifestation. And you can't get away from it. Because how many words could you speak if that life essence wasn't flowing through that body? Look out there in nature. What's rolling the earth around the sun? What's causing the tides to come in and out? What's causing the seasons to come and go? The planets to form, to implode, explode, or whatever they're doing. Tsunamis to come and go. Yeah. That's doing that, what I call the one essence. I call it an essence, just like, or a spirit if you like. That's where they get the spiritual from. Spirit is the essence of everything. When you look into that, spirit and matter, not two things. There's no two things, because spirit is essence, and when it congeals into solidity, seemingly solid, then it becomes matter. So actually, spirit can never know matter, because matter is just another form of itself. And it's got to be something apart from the two to discriminate them, which we call mind or thought. And we know that is not the fact either, because don't you say, my mind, innately, if you're saying my mind, you know, innately you know you're not the mind. You say my coat, my car, my house. Are you the coat? You're not. Are you the car? Are you the house? No, you're not any of those things. So, how are they being expressed? Through the word, through the label, just like the label God, the label fear, the label me, you, all words we've learnt. Now, how many words were you born with? Well, before that, can you remember your birth? And you realise, no, I can't remember my birth. Why can't you remember it? Purely and simply because you had no words at that time. So how could you express it? And you didn't learn any words when you go back on your life. Till you're around about the age of 2.5 somewhere. Might have been before, might have been a bit after. It's not some steady point where it happens to everybody at the same time. But that happens when the capacity of reasoning develops in it, which is a capacity that happens in these human forms, which is more developed than what it is in other animals, birds, insects. They have different capacities, which are more developed than our capacity of reasoning. Like a bird has eyesight that's much better. The capacity of seeing, which is much better than your or my eyesight, mine or yours, whatever way I put it, eyesight is going to be. There's a capacity of flying, which we can't do naturally. But that's where the capacity of reasoning can be very useful. Because through the capacity of reasoning, we've built ourselves eyeglasses, which enable us to see better. And we can't fly naturally. But again, through that capacity of reasoning, we will learn to build planes, helicopters, balloons, kites, all these different things that enable us to fly. Now, a dog has a sense of smell, much more developed than yours or mine is. Chameleons and insects and animals can change colour. We can't do that. Yeah.
You can change colour.
But yeah, we make clothes and all that with the different colour schemes through them, and we make colours out of ochres or rocks or things like that. We break them down. So with that capacity of reasoning, and we've been able to make useful things that are much more than most of the animals, birds, insects. Now, a caterpillar is just a grub, just like a grub. But it has the capacity of building a cocoon around itself, settling in it, and goes into a seemingly
liquid phase.
Into a different state in there. Then it'll gradually grow inside that cocoon into a moth or a butterfly with all those beautiful colours in it and the shape and form. It can fly and do all sorts of things, that moth. So the amazing wonderment in it all. And this human body, how was that formed? By the father and the mother with the sperm and the ovum, coming from the essence of the food eaten by your father and the prana of the air and the same essence of the food eaten by your mother. The prana, the air and the food essence formed the sperm and formed the ovum. Now that ovum was suffused with intelligence. It wasn't just a blob of goo floating around. It had the capacity. It attached itself to the wall of the uterus. How could it do that if it was just a dead, stagnant thing? It's suffused with that intelligence. And the sperm knew what to do. It had the capacity of swimming. When you put it under a microscope, you see it's got that good. And it knew where to swim to. Going through certain processes, it knew where to swim. It swam to the ovum and penetrated the ovum. Knew what to do. And there again, the intelligence energy in those two when they came together, and the genes and the essence of the food eaten again, doubled that cell, doubled it again, and the little embryo began to form. Little fetus, the little embryo, which is what you are today, and we've lost sight of that. We think we are this big all entity, not realising if it wasn't for that life essence in those two little, whatever you call them, cells coming together, we wouldn't be here. And those cells were suffused with an innate intelligence because it knew what to do, and it's grown you ever since and living you ever since. And what happens? At about the age of 2, when we start to learn words, as I said before, and it says in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. That's all Word is. It's a label we put on that innate intelligence energy that's functioning this universe. We call it God. All things were made by Him, it'll tell you. That's what they worked out in those days, and it work it out today. Yeah. All things were made by the Word. And everything you see, think and do, we use words to describe it. Nothing was made without the Word. And the Word was made flesh, as it says. A Word formed into these patterns of intelligence, would put the Word on them. Now, how many words were you born with? You realise you weren't born with any words. And you didn't learn any words till you were around about 2.5. And it was the fact of the parents fussing around you and speaking in front of you and all this. You're little Johnny, you're a good little boy or girl or whatever you are. And you do this or do that, and, and behave yourself. And put all these words or concepts, and you learn words out of that like I and me. Because your parents were talking about I and me. And you started to reason, that capacity of reasoning started then, and started to reason. This I am they're talking about, that's just little Johnny that they call. I am little Johnny. Now instead of just being a label, we put the I am in it. A sense of presence. That's all the I am is a sense of presence. It being expressed as a word, a label. How could you say you are? That presence of awareness is there and the knowingness is there in the immediacy, but we've got the word to translate it. I am. And the label they put on me is little Johnny or Billy or Bob, whatever it is. And then you say, I am that entity. And looking around, the little child looking around with that capacity of reasoning started to develop now, where before, when he first came out of the womb, he could see, he was hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. All the sensations were there, and he knew, and the knowing was there, but he didn't have any words to label. He wasn't going around, I'm seeing this and seeing that. Just like the cat or the dog or the kitten, just seeing, it's hearing, it's not saying I see. I'm a cat, I'm seeing. Not the cat that's sitting here anyway. So all these sensations being translated now into the word. Now have a look at that word. That's what we're told, to investigate. The false cannot stand up to investigation. Now we've got this conceptual image, I am Bob, and I'm Australian, I'm a good fella, I'm not so good. Parents have told me I'm this, I'm that, and I'm happy or I'm fearful, I'm anxious. They're all words we've learned. Fear, anxiety, stress, guilt, remorse, unhappiness, joy, sadness. Could I say any of those things for the first 2 years of my life without the word? Couldn't say anything at all. But the spontaneous functioning was there. The natural livingness was there. But now I've learnt words. And it's me, little Johnny or Billy, whatever my name is, thinks he's seeing, thinks he's hearing, thinks he's tasting, touching, smelling. And I am that little Johnny. And little Johnny looks out there in the world and he comes across something, he looks beyond as far as he can, he says, that doesn't fit little Johnny. So that's not me, that's not I. And as soon as that comes about, what happens? The sensation of being separate. That's separate from me if it's not I. And I don't know what it is because I haven't learnt the label or the word for that yet. So I don't know what it is, so what to do? If I feel separate from something, I feel very insecure. I don't know what that is. So with that sense of separation comes insecurity. And when that sense of insecurity, not knowing what it is, there comes vulnerability. What can this do to me? And with that comes the fear, or the depression, or anxiety, and all these other sensations. Put the labels on. This one's fear, this one's anger, this one's unhappiness or sadness. Where do we learn those words from? Our parents told us. Those sensations, then we start, take that word to be real, we don't investigate it there, and our parents don't say, look at that. and realise it's not you because they've never looked at it themselves. They've gone along with it and taken on this chance. So instead of doing what the ancients have looked at it, told us, investigate, have a look and see if you are that entity. Test it out. And realise you are the one essence. No, they don't. Parents, the schools, society, everybody tells, no, acquire, amass. You've got to become something. You're incomplete. You're not whole anymore. Do something. Get a good education. Learn a few more words. Well, do whatever you've got to do, you know. Add to, get a mass, accumulate something. More words, more reality. Whatever you do to make yourself whole or complete by adding to you. But you see, we get the wrong idea. Instead of starting from the fact that you already are, that is all there is, now we're trying to become something. Now have a look at that word become. Is becoming happening right now? Is becoming being. It's not being. It's a movement away from a being into the idea that it's a future time and a future thing. I will become something. Has it ever happened? Have you ever become anything other than what you are right now? You can put different concepts and different labels on it, give it a different pattern, different shape and form, but it's not the actuality. Now, if that actuality, the pure being, is what they call it, is another name for a different way of putting Sat Chit Ananda, is being and knowing and loving to be. And are you being right now? Of course you are. Are you knowing? Yes, I'm knowing that I am, and you're happy to be. Well, you don't want to be dead, do you? No, you want to be and you want to be happy. So you are that Sat Chit Ananda, but the other two factors of it, the five factors, Nama Rupa. Nama is the name. What is the name you put up in it? Me, Bob, the Australian, the conceptual image is the label I put on it. And the form, what's the form? Is the body. The Nama Rupa is the name, is the mind. The concepts are put on it. Well, the words we've learned are now put onto it. I am this body, I am this mind. So it's only when it recognises, when you investigate, it's still only the being, knowing and loving to be. Now, we've got to put this concept as something greater than us. You know, I'm not good enough as this separate entity, this individual, that's poor me. I've got to find this God.
Yeah.
I've got to find and become like God, not realising that you are already that. So we call God the Supreme Being. That's a greater being than what I am. It's a higher power, or what is it, a mind power, a thought power, and it tells you clearly in the scriptures, God is the omnipotence, the total power, if you use that term. Total presence, omnipotence, omnipresence, omniscience, the total intelligence. It's still only the one. It's never left its non-dual one essence. It's patterning, shaping and forming and expressing as everything in this manifestation. Everything is an expression of that. So that is the chair, that is the carpet, that is the tree, that is the flower. That is the wondrous ways in which it's fashioning, shaping and forming. Call God the Supreme Being. And what have we done? We've called ourselves a human being. And don't we, when we put the labels on that ourselves, after all, you often hear in the language, after all, I'm only human. See how you put yourself into the belief in a separate entity, an individual, a person, and separated yourself from the totality. And after all, I'm only a poor, miserable, unhappy human being. If you take that label supreme off the beingness and take the label human off yourself, what's left? Just the pure being. I'm telling you, what we've done, we've lost sight of it by putting the labels or the words on it. And that's what we're doing all the time. We lose sight of our true nature and focusing into an erroneous belief. We believe we are a separate entity. Now, if you question some of these words you've learned and look into them, see what the definition of them is, you'll see that the belief is never the actual. Because your definition of belief is it's an unquestioned acceptance. We've taken it for granted. We've never looked into it. We've never investigated. An unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Now, this capacity of reasoning is very useful, but it's not being utilised. An unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Acceptance of an alleged fact. All these facts that people have told us, and we've taken them on board without even questioning. Just gone directly into them. My parents told me so, my school told me so. This is how it is. But luckily, fortunately, down through the ages, there have been a few that have looked into it and seen through it. And they're the ones that the great religions and traditions have formed around. They've passed it on to a few. And the ways of communication then were not like they are today, so only very few could understand it. So what have they done? They've set these people up as saints, saviours, sages, seers, and even gods. And what have we done? We've worshipped the messenger. Worshipped the messenger is nothing but the same human pattern, shape and form that you and I and everyone are. And we've lost sight of the message. The message is, I am that. You are already that. But no, I'm the human being and they're that, and I've got to become like them. And becoming, again, is not being. It's a movement away from the one essence. There's only being, ever fresh and ever new, presence awareness. Just right. So that, you see, that's where all your psychological problems come about. That sense of separation, that sense of person. Now we've dubbed ourselves as persons. Now that's another word we've learnt. Now where does that word person come from when you investigate? If anyone's ever investigated, most of us don't. We're taking, I am this person, I am this individual. And even individual means undivided, but you're dividing it into the separate entity. Persona comes from the Latin, I think it was, persona, the mask. And what's the mask we've got? Is it a mask of skin, hair, or just, you can call it your face if you like, but it's the words, the labels we've got about ourselves. I'm Bob. It's worth more so than what the physical mask is. It's the word. I'm Bob, the good fella, or not so good, or I'm the unhappy fella. Or the fearful fella, or the anxious. A mask of concepts. And what is a concept? Looking at the word again. You really, all a concept is a mental construct, a thought-up construct. Now, is the thought or the word the real? Is the word the actuality? The word or the label I got myself, Bob, is that the actuality of what I am? I'm not the word. Or the other thing, label, I'm this body. Am I a body? Or innately, if I look at that again, you'll see innately already, if you look at it and read it out, when you say my body, you immediately know you're not the body. And you say my mind, we take for granted, or so to say, this me or my is the body and the mind. But if it's me and my body and my mind, well, why aren't I that? Why aren't I that? Because as soon as I try to do something with it, I can't. There's nothing there. It's my body, my mind, my thoughts, my feeling, my emotion. Is this me or my? My is a word we picked up along the road, me or my, whatever from our parents. What is it? What gave us that word? The sense of presence. It's immediately with you, right, and me, and everybody else in this room, and the sense of being. Of being present right here, right now in this moment, not tomorrow, not becoming tomorrow or what I was yesterday. Yesterday is now finished, it's over. But right in this immediacy, this here-ness, this nowness, there's a sense of presence. And that's translated by these words we've learned, translates it as the thought, I am. How would you describe your beingness right now? If somebody asks you, who are you? You'll say, I am Bob or Jean or whatever your name is. You immediately go to that. So that sense of presence is the I amness. The word I amness is a sense of presence when we put into a word. And you don't just leave it as pure I am, then we've got all the concepts around it. I'm Bob, the Australian, blah, blah, blah. Good fellow, not so good. I've had a dramatic childhood and I've got all sorts of traumas and dramas now. Poor me. I'm suffering, I'm anxious. And it seems very real. And of course it's seemingly real because it's been reinforced day after day after day, not only by ourselves, but by our schools, society, parents and kids around us saying, oh, look at you, you're not good enough, or you can't do this. And you take all this traumatic things on, and we suffer accordingly. We've built ourselves a conceptual pattern of word sorts and live in this house of concepts, ideas. Put the limitations and boundaries upon ourselves with the word, which is not the thing. Understand that one too, that the word is not the thing. Take the word water. Drink the word if you can. See if the word will quench your thirst. Take a packet of words around with you down out into the desert and see how you last drinking the word. The word is not the real. It's not the thing. And it's a cold night. Put a word around yourself. Yeah. You think that's going to warm you up? So the words I, me, fear, anxiety, stress, guilt, all words we've learned, all descriptions, but what we're describing, the word description cannot be the described. As I just said, the word is not the thing. What we're describing something now is not the word. Another way of putting it is the map is not the territory. The signpost on the road is not the destination. They're all pointers. So words can be very useful. But see how self-destructive they are when I tell them, poor me, I can't do this and I can't do that. They're much better than I am. Instead of leaving everything as is, there's preference, partiality and comparison. That's a movement away from what is. What is means just as it is right here, right now, in this presence awareness. What can you say about it? It just is. And isness is not was. And it's not what will be. Yeah. It's always ever fresh presence awareness, and it's constantly transient. As the Buddha, I think it was, or somebody, who doesn't matter who said it, it was said years ago, there is no static point anywhere. Nothing stationary. It's all constant vibration, movement. Pure intelligence energy, patterning, shaping and forming. And there's no self-nature to anything. Now look at the self-nature. Who is the self? It tells you in the scriptures and all the rest of all the great religions, there's only one Atman. That's pure Atman, pure self. But what have we done? We put all these labels, patterns, shapes and forms on ourselves as a person, and that has become myself. Now there's, imagine me, this separate entity, has a self. Yeah. A personal self. Yeah. Now we're in the trap. And we've got to fix this myself, make it whole, make it secure. We go on doing that, we never get anywhere. But people have fallen naturally into it somehow. And especially when people are told or start to realise that they've got to look a little bit further and something moves you. Who would want to come to a talk like this if something hadn't moved them to look a bit further than what they've got? You've had a good education, you've learnt so many things, it's been very useful, but the answer to life is not there.
Yeah. I would like to read some comments to you so you know what's going on here. People are saying hi to each other and people saying welcome, and one of the last comments was good morning, concept of Haman and concept of Tassos from concept of Mitra. So I suggest you comment for people to rather don't identify yourself as concept. Why don't you say good morning dad from dad rather than good morning from concept to concept? You're not it, you're not the concept. Just say it and laugh. Yeah, and you have over 20 people with you, so you're not talking to nobody, you talk to over 24 or 5 nobodies.
Actually, it's only one.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
It's all the absolute. I tell you, it is the absolute. Now, if you've got, using your reasoning capacity, if you have it, what can you add to the absolute, if you understand that word?
Yeah, nothing.
Not the smallest, minutest thing can be added to it. It wouldn't be absolute if you could add anything to it. What can you take away from it?
Not a thing.
Now, if you can't add to it, you can't take. You must already be that.
Yeah.
We'll start from the fact that you already are that. We don't. We start from behind the 8 ball, or I am Bob, I need to become liberated, realised, or understanding. Becoming is not being. It's a movement away from being into a conceptual future time which doesn't exist. And have a look, investigate time and see for yourself. And ask yourself the simple question, is there a past if I don't think about it?
No.
Can you go back and live yesterday or last week? You can't. There's no past unless you think about it. And the only time you can think about it is right now. You can come up with a thought of the past, but it's not actually the past.
No.
So that thought of the past, about the past, is taking place presently.
Yeah.
The same with the future. You can imagine and anticipate what's going to happen after the session's over or whenever you're going to do next. But you can't live a moment in the future.
Yeah.
So the past is a dead image now, and the future anticipation, imagination, a future hasn't occurred yet. So when does now begin?
Now?
Yes. Even you say, well, it's beginning right now. But even as you say that, you know it's ending. And even as you see it's ending, it's beginning again.
Only when you think. Only when you think about beginning and end.
Yeah, so
if you don't think, it's not happening.
So it's spontaneous.
Yeah.
Spontaneous. People say you've got to live in the now, you've got to stay. Try and get out of it. It's there, it's always been the ever-present immediacy, but it's not noticed. We've lost sight of it. So we've got to try and live in the now. Yeah. Try and get out of it. Very trying is what has kept us in bondage all this time.
Yeah.
The spontaneous activity. Look at the spontaneous activity that's going on in that pattern right now. You just took a breath. Did you say, I've got to breathe?
No.
You just expanded and contracted your heart. Did you say, I've got to do that? No. Got to digest my food? Or not? But the blood's racing around the body. Have I got to direct it here, there or anywhere? It's all happening spontaneously, naturally and effortlessly. Who's doing it? If you realise that this it's a spontaneous activity, this believed in me, this persona, this mask of concepts can't do anything. Never has and never will. And just like out there, there's no big daddy rolling the earth around the sun, winding it up and saying, turn this way or turn that way. It's the same essence, like the same electricity that's going through all the globes, but it's the same life essence that's going through every pattern, shape and form. And you are the life. That's what the Christ told you. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. People thought he was talking about himself. Oh, Christ is the way, Christ is the way. He's not, he's talking, I don't know what the Christ means anyway. It's not something about. It's that sense of presence, that I amness is the way. It's that I amness is the truth, that is the life. Yeah. In Buddhism they call it the great perfection. It's like great perfection is just the same as the absolute. Can't add anything to it, can't take away. And it says the great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. There it is in a nutshell. Don't put any of these conceptual labels on it. And see if you can be unaware right then without any concepts. You can't. No. So you're naturally that.
Yeah, and we had a comment, Tony wrote a comment that she is working with the kids. She's working with autistic kids, and the kid is calling everyone dad. That babies are calling everyone gaga. So they they have better concept than we when we think the labels are reality. It's nothing wrong with using labels. No. It's just not taking them for what
That's
they are.
That's right. But have a look at the way it all functions. You'll see the same energies are fusing everything in different patterns, shapes and forms. Like in the patterning, shaping and forming of this manifestation.
Yeah, we have a comment from Heyman also. He says, trying to getting out of now is human common habit, which is thinking and investing energy to become something or waiting for a better future.
Yeah.
And how hopeless.
It is. And the so-called seeming future takes care of itself. You don't have to wait, it comes along soon. In the functioning, in this manifestation, they take water, See how that comes about. Water is H2O, hydrogen, oxygen, 2 parts there. Now, that water, put a bit of heat under it, it'll become steam.
Yeah.
Very, very subtle steam. You can't see it when it comes out, and still it cools a little bit and it comes in, you see the steam, but it is coming out of the spout of the kettle close to it. Put your hand here, you won't see any steam. Yeah. It'll burn you, scald you. But then it settles and becomes the subtle pattern steam, and that steam will cool down and form a cloud. And the cloud will cool down a bit more, and it'll go back to the liquid form, water. Now it'll cool down a little bit more, and it comes down and rain, and it'll form ice, hail or ice. And snow becomes solid, like as I pointed out earlier. The spirit becomes matter. So look at the way your thinking functions. There'll be a subtle thought rise up in your body. You might even know it's there. It might be caused by a happening or a past where you're driving to recall some past event. And it might be, when it comes a bit more solid, you say, this is a sad thought. Now the thought has become a sad thought. Then let that go a little bit longer, it'll become a sad feeling. So the thought has cooled down into the feeling. And the feeling is a sensation. I feel sad or I feel unhappy. And that sensation, what have we done? We've labelled it fear or anxiety or stress or whatever happened to us when we first learned words. Our parents told us, this one's angry, you're angry. How did you know you were angry before that? The sensation came up and you couldn't classify it, you hadn't experienced before, but somebody told you. You're angry. Now that sensation has become, the sensation has become anger. And what is that anger? The feeling is there, and that feeling, anger, becomes emotional, becomes that strong, the belief in an energy goes in it, and the emotion will come up, the tears will come, or the want to belt somebody will come, whatever it is, or smash something in rage.
Yeah.
So the thought feelings, it's the same essence, the subtle thought is formed into this feeling and emotion. So all your feelings and emotions, have a look at them. Anger, fear. This one's fear. How do you know it's fear? Oh, well, I had this one before. And it was told fear years ago. Instead of seeing it fresh and new, which everything is fresh and new, we put the old, as soon as the sensation comes up now, we put the old label on. This one's unhappiness, this one's anger, this one's depression. What if you pause and watch and say, this one's come up, and have a look at it?
Yeah.
It's a sensation. See, it's a fresh, new sensation without putting the old. As soon as the old labels go into it, what have you done? You've hypnotised yourself into the old patterns, shapes and forms, and the responses to it will come up. See it fresh and new, you might see it in a totally different light.
That's right.
That's what we need to do. Investigate all these things. It's up to you. Whether you do it or whether you don't. You might say, this is a lot of crap. I don't want to go do it. Well, don't. But if you've been looking along these paths for 10, 15, 20 years or more and haven't found the answer looking along the same old patterns, might it just dawn on you. If you've got any intellectual at all left or any intelligence, when you say, I've looked into this for years, and they say it's so close, why haven't I found the answer? And then it might dawn on you, well, where have I been looking? I've looked in my mind for the answer. I've tried to work it out many ways, read many different books, gone to many different things. There's been little openings come about and all the rest of it. They've been helpful to a certain extent. But why haven't I gone further and found it out? I've gone into the belief of what's been told and missed out on the investigation has stopped there and then. Yeah. We've taken the old to be the truth. Investigate a little bit further. Maybe I've been looking in the wrong direction. Have a look. What direction have I been looking at? And you realise I've always been in the mind. I've always looked in the mind. And you wonder why. Well, then you realise, well, what way is there out of the mind? If I looked in the mind, if I'm not looking in the mind, what have I got to say? What do they think or do? Well, nothing. Without the thought of nothing. So, well, that's the only way I can look. But mightn't it just dawn on you, the only way out of the mind is full stop? What if I stop the thoughts? Don't go there anymore. What if I don't go with it? What if I let it be? As they say in the scripture, let it rest in its uncontrived singularity. If I'm not describing it or describing it or dualising it or whatever you do, conceptualising it, it's a singularity. What I do is let it rest in its uncontrived, where it's unconceptualised, unthought of, singularity. Why would somebody say that in the ancient texts? Maybe because they've got some answer out of that. Maybe they've got some recognition out of that. And when they tell you it's the one essence appearing as everything, why would they say that? Again, maybe they're pointing me in the right direction. Why don't I follow their lead? They're not telling me I've got to become something after 20 years meditation or reading this book or going to this guru or in the story. They're saying, look at it right here, right now, investigate. See whether it'll stand up to investigation. And you realise that the false cannot stand up to investigation. How can something that is false compare to the truth? When it's seen, recognised and put to see if it's a fact. If you recognise it's not a fact, like the blue sea. We've got to believe the idea that the sea is blue. The water is not blue. Water is not blue. It's clear. Turn away from the sea and look at it. You'll see there's no... But look at it. The blueness is not there. The sky is not blue. We've investigated those things. We know the truth. And then that scriptural saying is, know the truth. The truth will set you free. Yeah. What are you free from? You're free from the belief in them. You see them as they are. Though they still appear. Because this manifestation, as I tell you, the whole manifestation is Maya. And the word for Maya is illusion. Yeah. And I call that a phenomenal manifestation. It's all made up of phenomena. Look up your dictionary word phenomena. Again, question the word. And see the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. What does appear mean? It means it's only seemingly so. It's not the actual. So all this manifestation, I'm seeing you, even you that I'm seeing, is appearance only. It only seems to be. And I know in my heart that it's all the one essence, that you are that, whether you see it or know it or not. And I know that I am that, whether I see it or not. You know, I know really that it's only the thatness. It's all that. Everything is that. And that is the one essence, the one intelligence energy, the one timeless being. Now talk about eternity. We want to be the eternal. And we think we're going to be eternal if we live for 1,000 light years or a bit more, or with a Big Bang. If it all started with the Big Bang, it had a beginning. There was nothing in the beginning at all. The beginning didn't happen until you learnt the words. And you see that in your own life, and you go back and realise you didn't know any beginning, but you were there a couple of years before you realised it, or recognised it. So it all begins with the word. So when you see the word is spontaneous, it's beginning right now, and as it's ending, it's beginning again. It has no beginning, has no ending. Isn't that eternity? Yeah. Eternity is not 1,000,000 light years. It had a beginning, and it's going to end one day. We're all waiting for the end of the world. But it ended long ago, and beginning again there long ago, and spontaneously doing it right here and right now. This body seemingly had a beginning, which I can't remember. So I think I'll remember the ending of it. And I know it's going to disappear like every other pattern, shape and form has around me. And the further I go along, the more and more of them are disappearing. And more are appearing. So it's constantly transient. This body, I sat down to speak about it, whatever it was some time ago. It's changed all the time I've been sitting here. And all you listeners that are listening to it right now are not listening with the same body. Yeah. You might have the same concepts about yourself. If you have, bad luck. That's what you're stuck with. Yeah. But you don't have to be. It doesn't have to be that way. Not what I'm telling you. Doesn't matter what I say, think or do. All the words that are coming out here can only point towards your true nature. But it's a matter of seeing for yourself, understanding or recognising. Patanjali told you, the great yogi, understanding, he calls it right understanding. And Nisargadatta will tell you the same thing. Understanding him is all. Yeah. Wonder is understanding, is cognising or knowing, recognising or knowing exactly what is in the moment.
I've got a couple of comments. Helen is saying that it must be hard talking to the screen, but rest assured that we are listening and need your words. And it's over 30 people now. And another comment is the old labels keep the cycle running. Jane says yes, seeing image or label is never real. Heyman says, what inspiration better than suffering can lead us to awakening? And thus, if the mind makes no discrimination, the 10,000 things are as they are, of one single essence. To understand the mystery of this one essence is to be released from all entanglements. When all things are seen equally, the timeless self-essence is revealed. No comparison or analogies are possible in this causeless, relationless state. And this is a quote from Sin Ming.
Yes.
And he says, thank you, Bob. And now we have a comment from Jane. She says, the most is revealed from seeing the root of the disease lead back to the illusory self-center.
So it's recognised.
Yes.
It's not hard.
Not hard.
As it says, going back to the Hensing Ming, the great way is not difficult.
Yes.
And the Tao can be that be named is not the Tao,
That's right.
as the Taoists say. So we can put the words and labels on it, but they're not the thing.
Yeah.
The word is not the real. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it?
Yeah.
Do you disappear without the thought, without the label?
No. I had a nice quote, but I don't know if I can find it. A great way is not difficult, but in our favorite Chris's book, 9 Pieces of Zen, it says, great way is not difficult, but neither it is easy. Because it is not difficult to realize the emptiness of everything, but it's not easy to implement it moment to moment as we are living in the matrix of bodies and having the conditioning that is associated.
No, that's right. We can't do it.
Yeah.
All you can do is relax, let it rest in its uncontrived singularity, and see what spontaneously comes up. What's your next thought going to be? You don't know.
Yeah.
And when you hear it from somebody else, do you know that's the one you're going to resonate with? You don't say, I'm waiting for this thought to come up so I can... No, but the resonation will naturally be there, the natural recognition of it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we don't understand. Cognising. And recognising is another name, as far as I'm concerned, for knowing. You know? And it's Buddha told us it's a cognising emptiness. It's that emptiness that's doing the cognising, not that we are cognising it, which we think we are. We can't do anything. But it's the emptiness that's cognising.
Yeah.
And he made the statement that emptiness is form. It is cognising emptiness that's patterning, shaping and forming everything. And you are that cognising emptiness.
Yeah.
Form can be nothing other than emptiness. Emptiness is form. Form can be nothing other than emptiness.
That's right. And now I have a comment. It's gone now. Mitra is asking, it is difficult to stop seeing things as you describe. How can we do that?
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. But innate intelligence will tell you to look behind or let it go. And people say, how can I let go? Well, you'll know if you've got a bladder full of piss. And you'll know to go to the toilet and let it go.
Yeah. And Jane is saying, what is seeing the labels as they arise? Is it not that presence?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Michael is saying, cheers, Bob. I am that. Hard-working, honest Mike, the pure, the gentleman, the rigor. Thanks for everyone you've given.
Good. Know that you are that and don't let anybody knock you off that perch.
Yes, and I'll just add, when they say that great way is not difficult and it's easy to realize it, it's just a matter of pausing the thought for a moment. What's wrong with right now if I don't think about it? And in that moment, when there is no conceptualizing, I don't have shape, I don't have form, I don't have body or mind or anything, because all those are ideas. in the absence of ideas. I can't define myself, I can only undeniably exist. So it is easy, although the habit of the mind is to continually create and recognize objects and forms and divisions and the seeming duality as the appearance. But when the truth is known, the seeming appearance can be enjoyable. It's not a problem that it still feels like there is a male body and there is a female body and there is and there are objects and there are feelings and there are thoughts. It's still okay if the world is exquisite. It's not just okay. It's magnificent. It's mysterious, miraculous, and beautiful that the world still appears when the truth is known. That without the conceptualizing, without labeling that world out of existence and make it real by recognizing, by the act of belief in it. And it's an unconditional, complete certainty. It's not just a belief like the way, maybe it is as the same way as people in 16th, 17th century, they believed in devil. Or they believed the earth was flat. So it is the same. It was flat and the devil was real. They were killing, 50,000 women was killed because of the real threat which devil was. So that the same way we are labeling the world out of the existence, out of the probability. So when we know that this is how the world came into existence, and when we know that the all temporary impermanent forms dancing, playing on the screen of awareness, there is nothing to be done. It is just to enjoy the show and play along, of course, because there's no one to stop it. There's no one to stop looking after the body if the pattern there is to look after the body. There is no one to stop thinking if the pattern is there to think. So it's really nothing to do. It's just to recognize the truth and let it play as it does, because we don't really have any choice about it.
How's the time?
And we are over an hour. So yes, we invite everyone for questions. Now Mitra is saying the great way is not difficult for the ones who have no preferences, but I am trapped in my preferences. I know that. Hard to get out. Yeah, this is a good one. Clarify this one down. It's not about not having preferences.
Well, what would it, when there's any preferences there, see what's happened? You've moved away from the what isness into what was or what you would like it to be. That's preference. What is means unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. No preference, no partiality, no comparison. Just leave it as it is. Come back and say, well, and that seeming preference is this it?
Yeah.
If this is it, let the preference be there, whatever, you know, but don't put any belief that has some reality to it. No power. What power has it got unless you're fixated on it?
Yeah. Actually, it's a beautiful answer that Heyman has given to Mitra, and he says, it happens to no one. The preference arises just the same way as thought, feelings, and emotions arise. They are just part of the appearance, but they don't belong to the entity. If they are not my preferences, the preferences of the body, like eagle will have the preference to hunt mouse over the rat or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It arises, but it doesn't belong to anyone. And also what Hin Sing Ming was saying in other translation, it wasn't don't have preferences. It was don't hold on to them. Let them come and go like clouds.
Hold no opinions for or against anything.
Yeah. And I think there are other questions here. One moment. Adrian is saying, thank you, looking good. Thank you. And Nasser is saying, the very idea of going beyond the dream is illusory. Why go anywhere? Just realize that you are dreaming a dream you call the world, and stop looking for the ways out.
There it is again.
Nisargadatta, yes. And then Michael says, I'm grateful for this online talk. Thank you both. It brought me out of my thoughts and mind for a moment. good beginning. Thank you. It's only that moment.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think that quote from Nisargadatta was really timely, because the idea of trying to change the situation, like I have the preference, I don't want to have it, or I don't see the reality and I do want to see it. Any attempt to change what is being experienced is altering, modifying, and correcting what is, and it leads nowhere, because it is a recognition of inherent perfection in the way this moment take form and shape. It is that recognition doesn't come from any action or any trying to fix it, because trying to fix it is based on the idea that there is something wrong, while the recognition that there is nothing wrong is stopping the fixer, is stopping that seeking mind, that trying to figure it out mind, trying to correct it mind, and just seeing everything as it is, including preference, including sad emotions, including anger, including labels that come up with the energy, and seeing them as what is, and not resisting what is, or even if the resistance comes with it, seeing the resistance as a part of the play and not changing, and even attempt to change comes with it. That's also part of the play. Nothing is wrong in any of it, including the seeking and trying and resistance, if it's recognized as just part of the dance and not as the identification of me. This is me, I have to. There is no me, there is no one there. There's just life pouring out. And if life has the pattern of resistance or pattern of anger, then life will be utilizing pattern of resistance or anger. And even that is impersonal. And seeing how impersonal is that. I think an easy way to see it is to see, how did I get that pattern? Let's say if my pattern is jealousy, how did that pattern even come about? And I will see how innocent I am, because that pattern was the consequence of all my life unfolding moment to moment. Perhaps the way I was treated as a child, or perhaps it's the whole world that created that pattern. And if now this is what manifests through the body, it is impersonal, because I didn't choose it, I didn't create it. The world installed it, the life installed it. So the life is playing on the very instrument it created. So seeing that pattern and taking it impersonally, straight away take a sting out of it. There's not a problem anymore. Okay, the jealousy comes out, so what? I don't have that pattern, it's just an example. But, or maybe it is, I didn't notice. But it's still just a pattern. It doesn't belong to anyone. It hasn't been created by one single cause. There was not one single cause that made that pattern. We could believe and trace down some trauma, and it is a fantastic therapeutic tool to even go and how the Scientologists do, just install in the mind the idea of some extraterrestrial whatever abduction or something, and then create the idea that this has been removed and you may get rid of an addiction. Whatever, placebo, nocebo, whatever works, they are fantastic tools. But if you want to see the collective, if you want to see the whole bigger picture of the truth, you see there isn't a single cause. Even extraterrestrials had to exist before they appeared in your mind in some form of the thought, of the belief, or the idea, or whatever. So it's always the totality just playing. It's always the whole ocean waving.
And getting back to preferences again, really getting back to the Hensing Ming again. How does it start off?
Yeah.
The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything is clear and undisguised. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. Now have a look at that. The great way not to, for those who have no preferences. Now what are the preferences he's pointing out? love, hate, good, bad, pleasant, painful. Only thoughts. If they're both absent, you're either going to one end of the stick or the other, and seeing it all as the one. Everything is clear and undisguised. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. Well, have a look at that one even. Heaven and earth. What's heavens? You say, I looked up into the heavens. You're looking up in the sky, aren't you? So all that heavens are is the sky. Now the earth is rolling around the sky. Can it ever get out of it?
No way.
So they're never ever apart unless you can put conceptualising in your mind and clinging to it.
I love that one.
It's simple. Just what when you say there's a preference there, what thought is this preference? I like it or I don't like it. It's pleasant. Just let them go. And the earth will continue to roll around the sun. And it'll continue to be day and dark wherever side of sun, winter or summer. And so it is life. But when you try to cling to one or the other, we're making a distinction. And it's set infinitely apart and we're in trouble.
Sally is saying, such a relief when I experience moments of being free of me. The me is such a burden to carry. Freedom of no me.
Beautiful.
And Jane says, the me is just memory. Heyman adds, love all of it or none of it.
And the rest will be done for you.
Yes. Sally is answering to Jane, a habit. Jane says, me is the memory, and Sally says, it is a habit. Both apply. Have to use some term. Yes, Adrian says, you have to have the words to communicate. Chris is asking, Kat, can you please ask Bob about the current pandemic?
The what?
The virus.
That's part of the functioning too, isn't it?
It is,
And the virus will have its life and change. It's constantly changing. Everything comes about, plays around for a while and disappears, comes again. It's not the first virus that's been around. It won't be the last. Who does it apply to?
Chris.
No, I say, who does it apply to? Me.
Me,
Who's fearful of it? Me. But is the essence fearful of it?
No.
Is the essence concerned with it? Because the essence forms it also. It's an expression of it also. And if that wasn't the belief and disbelief going into it, could it exist?
And I'll just add to it. It is is vital and is really helpful to remember that ultimately the world is being believed into existence, and the reality is the no mind or I don't know mind. Because I have seen already divisions between people who believe in certain behaviors and who don't believe in certain behaviors, who believe one set of news saying that this is the end of the world coming and we need more toilet paper because that is... And they were also people who came from different sort of research and say, well, maybe it is... maybe it isn't the way it is presented to the public. And those two groups of people are ready to kill each other because one is right, one is wrong. Is there a devil? There is no devil. Who is right, who is wrong? So to come back to the heart, get out of the head and the beliefs that, oh yeah, it is like this, they are right. Nobody's right because the world is Maya. So, I have to believe the others and convince. And, those who don't obey particular whatever set of rules, they are murderers and should be isolated or whatever. Those are extreme positions that I have already seen being taken by people. And again, back of the head, go to the heart, and the life will move you. You will play along, you will use precautions, or you want this. Life will move you. Just stay in the I don't know. Do the best you can, of course. That's how we are conditioned. We all have that, unless we psychopaths or sociopaths, we really try to do good. And this is one of the comments from last week meeting. Somebody was saying that kindness is the natural state, because once you recognize the other as oneself, why would you not be kind? Why would you not be caring? It's impossible. But watch out for all the divisions and aggression coming up from people who want to use it as the means of power. And just get back to the heart and see what come out from there.
That's very interesting about the heart too. A lot of people don't understand what they mean by heart. They think it's the physical heart, but it's a centre there, or a core.
Yeah.
That's what the heart essence means, the core of something, the centre, the heartfelt essence of it. The physical heart can have clots in it and blood and have strokes and God knows what. But the core of being, the essence of being, the sense of presence, presence. And every one of us knows what heart to heart means. Because it just sends a feeling into the core of your beingness too. A sensation there. It's something, a sense of relief and a sense of wonderment in it, a sense of beauty in it, many, many different ways it can express.
That's right.
And heart to heart, then it's at one-ment, atonement. At one-ment.
That's right. Yeah. Nazar Ghazi is repeating the Sin Sin Ming. He says, it is true. The Sin Sin Ming says, if you wish to know the truth, then hold to no opinions for or against anything. It doesn't say hold no opinions for or against anything. Hold to no opinions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't hang on, let them be.
Yeah. And most of all, don't think that you know what is going on just because you heard some doctor telling some other doctor, or some news agency told some other. We really don't. Like, strong belief that I know is dangerous. It causes all the wars. People who were burning witches, they also believed they knew. We don't. It's good to stay in that humble place where, I have no idea, and be comfortable with that. Because the way we deal with fear is we rationalize it and we exchange the pure sensation into the story in the head. And that becomes toxic and that becomes dangerous. While when we experience the emotion as it comes, even if that is naturally recognized as anxiety or whatever, fear for the dear ones or whatever it is, take the label off and sit with that life bubbling in the body and see what insights will come up when you just stay with the energy rather than rationalizing, labeling and having a story in the head. That is just so liberating from the anxiety, which hasn't been anxiety before it was labeled. And it kills the fear of fear. At this point, you're not fearing fear anymore. You sit with whatever is.
The ease of being. Being at ease is another way. You're being right now. Rest easy.
Yes. Yes, Heyman says existence is just a belief. And Kiran says, I had a dream last night that I was supervised by a group of 5-year-olds making posters for a project. There was a glue everywhere and they were making an absolute mess. And my thinking was, oh shit, they are stuffing everything up. But just smile and tell them good job because they are just children trying their best. This is how I feel life is at the moment. This is beautiful, Kiran. Wonderful. That is so true. Yes. Jane says beautiful too. Yeah.
Life is.
Yes.
It's time.
And time is 20 past. So if we have another question or comments, we have another 8 minutes. Are you getting impatient? You had enough?
Just about.
Just about. Okay, so we wait another couple of minutes. If there is no questions and Bob has just about enough, we're gonna wrap it up and say thank you to everyone and go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, been very good, the questions and the input.
Yes.
Input is being recognised more and more, which is natural, so it should be.
Yes, thank you guys for your presence. You make it easier for us. Dean is saying, Bob's pointing is so beautifully direct. Is nothing, if nothing is added, subtracted or narrated, they can radically transform love. Just want to say thank you, Bob. Jane says. Thank you, Jane.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you, everyone. And see you on the Zoom meetings. We're going to have Tuesdays and Thursdays Zoom meetings. The links are posted on all Bob's website, including official website, Facebook website, so you can easily find it. And yes, join us. For people who are too far away in time, we may upload one just for fun. And now Tony is saying, if anyone knows where I can find a room, I need one, or alternatively 2 flatmates with continual income. So if anyone can help Tony to find the accommodation, please contact Tony. Please help her. She's so worth it.
Yes.
Okay, love to all and see you next time.
Thank you.